Clinical Research Circle. How's it going, guys? It's been a while. It's been the holidays, it's been the new year. People think we're not posting anymore because biotechs are getting slaughtered. Guys, come on. We're a YouTube channel. It doesn't matter. It's actually better when biotechs get slaughtered for views because you guys get curious and say, why is this stock going down? When we got a lot of questions from the community in that vein for Travis Mickle, CEO of ChemPharm, legendary Travis Mickle. I've never seen a biotech CEO get this much love, at least from the ones we've covered. We cover like dozens, maybe multiple dozens. The community loves you, Travis. They love KMPH. A lot of them are being patient. They're holding it out. It's been a rough couple of months. Let's just address that first. Like,
Sure.
there's things you can control as a CEO of a publicly traded biotech, and there's things you cannot control. Can you kind of break down how you navigate these two things and keep shareholders happy?
Yeah, I mean, it is difficult in this environment, right? Everybody's kind of getting lumped in one giant mess of let's punish biotech pharma right now. If you're big and have earnings, great. You're not going to see the same changes, but even they have had a appreciable decline over the last 6 months. So, I mean, when we look at it, we can only control what we can control. And so we instituted the stock buyback late last year. That's in an effort to recognize not giving into pressure, but recognizing our stock is cheap and our best investment is kind of in yourself at some point. And I think that's step one. And I've been talking for months. We gotta come out with a meaningful pipeline, something of interest, milestones, not just for folks like you and everyone else here, but for healthcare focused institutions, to get them excited. Whether it's next month, 6 months from a year from now, where are they going to potentially invest in the organization? But I'd love for this all just to pass us by and have money come back into the sector. I think that would be really helpful to everybody.
Yeah, it's funny how people try to confuse correlation with causation. We've seen that a lot with COVID, but hopefully everybody learned a little bit about that. But like, there's people who've literally been messaging me because we haven't done an interview in like 6 months. They think that I don't want to talk about ChemPharm anymore. It's like, guys, we're busy. We don't just make videos all day. We all have jobs. Like, it has nothing to do with the stock price. We'll do it. This is like the stock price is at one of its lowest points ever right now in recent memory, and we're doing a video, so it has nothing to do with that. We'll get into questions. There's a lot. Monica, there's been a press release. How's it going, Monica? Are you excited for KMPH?
I'm always excited for KMPH.
Good.
Hi, Travis. Good morning. So I was reading the last press release, which it was last week, and it mentioned that ChemPharm is going to be concentrating or prioritizing CNS rare disease, and one of these conditions that also is being prioritized by ChemPharm that kept my attention is the idiopathic hyperinsomnia. Could you please tell us about it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll just step back a little bit and say, our focus and our strategy has been on high value areas where we can make a meaningful impact to patients and to the marketplace quickly and efficiently, right? We don't want to spend 6-7 years when we can get a product or a program that would get there in 2-3 years. Obviously, that makes sense. Now, when you think about the patients that are impacted by idiopathic hypersomnia, these individuals have very few good options. And there was a recent product from Jazz that was approved, Xywav, but that's the only approved product. And while the patient population isn't enormous, like say ADHD, it's very focused, and the price points for these products are much higher. So when you think about the market opportunity, I mean, you're really thinking, could be the same opportunity as what we saw with Astaris, certainly at the top end. These folks really need that medication. They're plagued with sleeping too much, too long, never awake. You just walk around basically in a fog, and I can't imagine it. I just maybe Sunday mornings after you had a long weekend and a long weekend, you kind of get a hint of it, but they live it every day without any therapy.
Yeah, that's a terrible disease. I was also reading that approximately 37,000 people in the United States are diagnosed with this. And that's just the people that have been diagnosed. Imagine the rest. I mean, probably even more than 37,000. So it's an alarming number, I think, especially for a disease that basically, don't let you do nothing in your life but sleeping.
Yeah.
And
go ahead. Sorry.
No, please go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that number's actually really underrepresented. It's really, it's essentially a diagnosis by elimination, right? If you don't have narcolepsy, if you don't have other sleep disorders, they kind of say, well, you sleep too much, so it's hypersomnia. And I think that probably keeps people from getting it diagnosed, recognized, and properly treated. Now, I think that's going to change. I mean, Jazz has spent a lot of money in this area and continues to do so, marketing and publicizing the opportunity. And I just see it growing from here on the more patients that actually get diagnosed and treated for idiopathic hypersomnia.
All right. Well, I think it's a great condition to do research for, especially because obviously if there is not much treatments available out there, people will be very excited about that too.
Yeah, absolutely. And we think we can make a meaningful impact. Folks that have IH complain of, being able to even get up in the morning. They set multiple alarms, and our SDX, serdexmethylphenidate, is perfect. You take it the night before. It's really ramping up before they wake up, which provides them that extra boost, and then keeps them awake the entirety of the day before it comes down at the end of the day. It's just, I don't know how it could have matched up so perfectly when you find an indication and a therapy that go together. It was a perfect match, really. Everything else, there's other ideas we have, didn't quite line up that way.
When do you think, I know it's early in that process for IH, but when do you think that you're going to start looking at clinics, like to select sites to do the studies? So how far are we from this?
Actually, it's shortly. We are looking at some quotes from some CROs to go ahead and get us in front of investigators and start identifying what sites would make the most sense here. Yes. It's a fairly limited number of sites that can really treat these, and you need to have a sleep specialist on board. And I think that's it's going to start third quarter, but our activities start literally as soon as we sign the proposal.
Wow, that's definitely news from our last. So a lot has happened since our last interview, not just the stock price going down. A lot of good stuff too.
Yeah.
So this one is on phase 2 right now, correct?
Correct. And it's because it's SDX, which is 70% of Astaris, it's not quite a phase 2, right? We already have so much phase 1 data. We already have the schedule 4 when you talk about controlled substance. We know all the animal and non-clinical pathway is set, and we know how to make it. So we've done 90% of the heavy lift here. Now it's just about executing on these clinical studies, making sure we do the right thing and capture what the true benefits are, as opposed to having to worry about some of the more mundane things that get you approved.
And Travis, I was also reading that the plan is to also do a parallel study for narcolepsy.
That's right. I mean, if this works well for patients with IH, it would work very well for those with narcolepsy. Bigger space, about 150,000 patients that have been identified, and Jazz has done multi-billion-dollar product there for years. And those patients have never had that opportunity to have something like SDX and KP1077. And so, I think it makes sense as a nice bolt-on. IH is going to be our primary focus, but the narcolepsy trials are very similar in design and cost and how you would actually operationalize them.
Oh, that's wonderful. And there are other news that are also very convenient for the population out there with the commercial partnership that you guys did with Corium.
Sorry, I missed the last part of that question.
The commercial partnership with Corium for the to help people, to help the payers for Azaris.
Yes, sorry. Okay, so we did announce that there was a huge increase in the number of lives covered under the current programs for Astaris. So payers have been coming in, and I think Corium was a little surprised how quickly that payers were willing to drop their blocks and try to negotiate where this would be tiered. Over 100 million lives. When we say that, we're only talking about the lives that were added, right? There's a population that automatically day one were there. As soon as Corium has expanded their national launch, there's already folks that pay cash or have high deductible plans that don't have sort of limitations with payers. There's folks that different payers automatically just put you on their formulary. So I think that and this upcoming Medicaid has really allowed Corium to say, hey, we need to go national, we need to go out there and enforce and start to message this benefits of Astaris.
And we got a lot of questions for that too. So is there anything else from the press release? Let's take care of the housekeeping first.
No, go ahead. Go ahead with your crazy questions.
They're gonna get mad if I don't ask these. So let's just do. There's a lot. Travis, I know I keep asking this on this is my question. There's just, what are you guys doing to generate this much buzz? Because we do biotech companies a lot, and it's never this many questions. Like this completely dwarfs anything else that we do. Like when we ask the community for questions, what do you think it is? I wish I could fully say. And we've made an effort maybe over the last 9 months to give out more information through social media and other channels. But at the same time, it's a really good company when you think about it, right? We have an approved product, we have a commercial partner. I mean, we could earn up to 20-30% of the first few years' revenue if we hit milestones. And that's just unbelievable. I haven't seen deals like that. On top of that, you have the cash position, obviously the needs in ADHD, and our track record of drug development is just, we're batting 1,000. So I'd love to say it's my likability and, my great beard, but, at the end of the day, I think if I was on the outside looking in, this would be a company I would invest in, right? It's a great opportunity, especially at these prices. It's just ridiculous, but it's all upside. What's the downside? We're not going to run out of cash. That's one of the questions that people have been asking is if you can comment, have you bought any on the dip? That's one of the questions we get.
That's a good question. And I think folks have seen that I purchase every year. I purchase as much as I can at any given one moment, but we are always bound by blackout periods in which insiders cannot trade, whether it's myself or some of our even other employees in the company, and that I can't tell you why that is. Sometimes that's due to the fact that earnings haven't come out yet. We haven't done our year end, and we may know something that not everybody knows at this point. It can also be strategic, like if we're in discussions with a partner. Or to buy somebody else or to acquire or be acquired. All of those things are reasons why if I'm not buying at low dips, you probably should take notice, right? It's not just when you buy, it's or if you buy, it's when you buy. as an insider that can really indicate what's going on at the organization, any
Okay.
organization.
Yeah, no, that's a good answer. People are also asking about so have they started buying back shares yet, as far as the company is concerned, not about you guys personally this time.
Uh, what I can say, was effectively what was said in the press release. And look, we instituted up to a $50 million program. We intended to be active immediately. That means, in the market, buying shares immediately. Um, you would think not, but you can see that our end of the year balance that we projected last year was not in that $1 to $1.5 million range that we've been in for many quarters now. So, by inference, you kind of decide, well, were they in the market last year by the end of last year? I think it's obvious, right? But have we been since? I can't say directly, but we do intend to use this program strategically, of course, within all the regulations and guidelines, but as well actively. We want to be active in it. Now, do we go up to 50 million? It's our bucket, and how much water do we fill it with? That's dependent on lots of various inputs and outputs.
Okay, another question from a dog named Sue. This is this is more of a comment. So they said, I think we all want to know what the qualifications they're looking for to initiate the buyback. You kind of answered that. Also, just pleased with the positive developments from the company in the last few months. I don't think he hears it enough that the company is doing a good job. There you go. There's some
Yeah.
kumbaya for us. That's a very good comment. And a lot of people are commenting similar things. We got another one. Just the standard questions like, what can you give us an approximate date when the shareholders can order their Lambos? It's a legit question. So we'll avoid that one. Let's see here. These are actually okay. Current competitive landscape for ADHD. So new drugs coming out that would affect the growth strategy. Are you guys keeping up with the latest competition and pricing and all that?
Yes. Yeah. No, we track them very closely. Like the legacy products like Vyvanse and Concerta and others, they're established brands, right? They're not going to change that much. But we've been looking at the recent launch of Quelby, which is a Supernus non-stimulant, that's almost a different category altogether. It's not even close to a one-to-one analysis there. But also looking at Journey, which is the night before product, supposed to help in the morning and with ADHD symptoms. So, we're tracking that as far as not just scripts that we look at compared to where Astaris is, but we also look at that. Sorry, a little bit bumping. We also look at that compared to coverage with payers, because that's really the key metric. If you can get payers to cover it and it's a better product, it will ultimately it'll be the market leader. That's always has how it plays out. So in this particular instance, we see that Corium is several months ahead from where Journey was, and we like that, right? Maybe behind in scripts because they haven't been, in a national launch, but now they are, and now we know that they can make up headway quickly.
Yeah, related to that, another person says, will Corium provide weekly new script numbers as the national launch proceeds?
They don't. There are several databases out there which you can either subscribe to, or I've seen, folks on social media just tell you, they'll get the numbers from somewhere, and let you know what the weekly numbers are. So it's not a terrible secret. It's not something we're allowed to say on a day-to-day basis because Corium is private. They want to keep. They don't want to keep numbers in the front of physicians and patients, right? Well, it's not doing very well. I wonder why, right? And obviously, that's not a good message to send. It's just very early days, and that's the case for any launch. So I understand why there's a little frustration from shareholders and interested investors. Hey, I don't know what the numbers are, but obviously, I don't think Corium wants everybody to know immediately what those numbers are either. Once they get some room up there and start to see scripts go up, I think that's Weekly, no, but every once in a while, will they give cumulative scripts, what the growth rate is? Absolutely. I know that
Mhm.
they would let us do it, or they would do it themselves.
Someone else asked, what is the status of KP922? It's no longer listed in the pipeline. Which one was this?
This was an amphetamine derivative that we had prepared. So very much like SDX and Astaris and 1077, we had seen the same attributes with some of our amphetamine compounds. So less abusability, really long-acting extended release profile. So I wouldn't say it's dead just because it's not actively being developed. It is being considered as an alternative or another use for. We talked about 879, right? The KP 879 for stimulant use disorder. That's a great alternative if the efficacy doesn't look great in those with SDX. You just switch it. So it's kind of a in our back pocket. Do we need it? Do we not? It would take more money and take more time to develop it because it's not a part of an approved product.
I just thought of this, but a lot of companies are having issues with labor shortages, and I'm assuming you guys are not immune from this either. Has that played into the decisions to put some developments on hold, like this one, and focus on others, or is that like a separate decision?
Well, internally, I'll happy to report we haven't had any changes in employees in a number of years. In fact, we've added a few very instrumental folks internally in the regulatory side that have really been great. Help us get a STARS approved and get through what we needed to do. Externally, yes, it does impact everything. CROs have a lot of turnover, clinical sites, manufacturers, and you're fighting now with this influx of money that came in, 2020, 2019 from, IPOs and new financings. And so everybody's out there in the clinic and you fight for that. I think what's fortunate is we have long-standing relationships with a lot of these folks, literally going back to my early days at New River. And so I wouldn't say we get a benefit from that like directly, but they would rather do a study with ChemPharm than Pfizer. It's just we're going to be easier to work with. We'll get our hands dirty. We'll get you things back in a day when, Pfizer may take a month to get an answer back.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, actually, having the network, the relationships, and to add to this, like, I think the labor shortage, the labor squeeze is going to continue in our industry because of the new anti-aging consortium that came out. I think it's like billions of new dollars are going to be put into anti-aging research. So everybody's got to play in the same pool, same ocean. Another question, I tell you there's a lot. Have you been approached by any companies regarding licensing the LAT, the ligand activated technology?
Yes, actually we have. We've had a pretty active business development effort since the approval of Astaris. I mean, we always have. That's been our focus. But I think the credibility of having now 2 approved and licensed products, folks understanding that Astaris has done very well. Some of the attributes, like with STX, with the Schedule 4, nobody expected. So, like, well, can they do that for our molecule? And that's been part of our story on a business development side. It's not front and center with us. We've done a few of these small deals, Tuzar. We did another one to bring kind of a dual co-development, but they're all early stage. But now we're getting interest, from kind of the little later stage as well as kind of mid-stage development where they want their intellectual property or patents extended. They want to improve some feature about the product. And those would be great, right? They're all gravy at that point. Do you get a deal? How any sort of upfront? It's really about the long-term value. Can I have a part of something I would have never developed in the first place, where they're going to spend all the money and all the resources to get it there?
Before I get to more questions, guys, Monica, Chris, I don't want to hog up all the mic time. If you guys have any, the community wants to know these things, so that's why I'm doing it. But
yeah, I was taking a look at the pipeline because I would like to know which, if you already if you guys already know which CNS disease, rare disease are going to be concentrating your attention to.
I think there's a lot of attention right now in the neurodegenerative space. That's not quite rare disease, but sometimes it is. ALS, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's. There's also niches within those spaces, right? There's patients that suffer from, different morphologies of those, and you can focus in on those individuals and really, be able to help them. There's been a lot of investment in that area, and I think that's been something that said, well, okay, if folks are investing in that, we should pay more attention to it. We also think we can help. It's really a space that needs new innovation, not just for these disease modifying drugs like biogens, but just for symptoms. Like, improve my symptoms. I think people don't care if you don't live as long, if you have a terminal disease, but at the end of the day, if you can live a better life along the way, obviously that's going to make a big difference.
Yeah, to make it more quality.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my last question. Thank you, Travis.
Thank you, Monica. Chris, whenever you want to, it's fine. I'll get back to there's a lot, and then we'll eventually come to the end of these. Somebody said send him a thank you for his dedication to making better, safer drugs. It's very nice. The community loves you, Travis. Ask him what his favorite kind of pizza is.
The one that's in front of me. It won't last long either.
Okay. Oh, this is a good one. What kind of partnership are you guys seeking for substance use disorder?
Well, I tried to touch on this during our presentation and in the press release, but it does require a little bit more explanation. So it's actually a great question to think about 879. When we did the study over the summer and through this year, and it read out late last year, and it's still not officially all complete, we just realized that there's expertise here that exists in academic labs and in government, of course, at NIDA and other agencies that focus on drug abuse, that we just, nobody else in the world has. So, we thought, well, I think let's get a grant. Let's see if this makes sense for NIDA to either do the study or, pay for the study. I think they'll probably want to do it. Honestly, we had the same offer when I was working on Vyvanse. And that's a good start. Like, let's get some clinical data from some experts, and then go out and seek an industry partner. I did mention, I think on the call, we've had interest. Folks are interested in the space because there's nothing out there, but there's so much that's been tried and failed. So I'd rather learn. I'd rather not learn from the mistakes of the past as far as taught on us. I'd rather, take those lessons from folks that have been there and done it in the trenches. Okay, take those lessons and apply it to our product, make it better, and now let's get somebody to develop it.
Mm-hmm. Some of these questions you can't answer, but I'll ask you anyways. Is there a number where you would sell it all for a buyout, and at what price?
As high as possible, right?
There you go. Yeah, hey, that's a good answer. That's a good answer.
Not at $6, that's for darn sure. We all work too hard. Everybody knows that there's bigger upside, so waiting a little longer isn't going to be bad. But let's work hard to add value so it gets there faster.
Okay. Oh, the stock is down 30% since you interviewed him last September. I can't believe it was September. It seems like more recent. It's all upside from here, is what you remarked back then. What do you think you should ask him? Well, I think we asked him a bunch of the questions that you're alluding to. So, and we're gonna get to more right now. Another one. Can Travis speak to Epion trademark extension? What does he have planned? I don't even know what this is. What are they talking about?
We have a few trademarks for, if we ever want to do a subsidiary or a spin out of any of our assets. We have assets that nobody knows about from very early private days of the company in bipolar disease, schizophrenia. Of course, we have the opioid products that we developed and Apodaz approval, and a few others that you could spin that out, sell it, spin it out, create its own focused organization, and keep a few trademarks around just so that when you want to do that, you don't have to go and buy a URL and everything for somebody else.
You gotta go, daddy, like the rest of us.
Yeah, obviously everybody starts there.
These guys, how did they find this stuff out? This is amazing. I mean, this is crazy.
They really dig into stuff. It is crazy.
It's
Travis, then I have another question.
Okay.
Since you mentioned bipolar and schizophrenia, you guys having in mind to do any more mental health studies or products?
Yes, I think the area of psychiatry is still very under the needs there are just huge, right? We need better products there, more options for physicians too, right? Oh, look, there's 20 ADHD products. Well, the reason there's 20 is because no one fits all, and so I think that's with every psychiatric disease. Nobody knows what the root cause of ADHD is, as far as like how it, the morphology, the behaviors, what's going on with the patient, and it's different for almost everybody. So you need different drugs, and I think that's for bipolar disease. It's for behavioral disorders, anxiety. It's prevalent throughout. Now, that's not going to be our initial focus, right? We want to go after some very high value targets. Not that there's not value in those, but let's knock out some easy ones that are very high value, and then it'll give us the opportunity and resources to focus outside of that. I did mention that we have also pursued and looked at psychedelics. Obviously, that's a huge new area. I think we can make an impact in that. We'll have to make a decision internally if we're going to deploy any resources there. But I think we can make a patented product that could be better. Now, is there a use for it? Others will determine that first, but hopefully we can follow up with something better.
That's wonderful. We all have here a sore spot for mental health.
Yeah, we do. We really do. Yeah, that's how we got our start, most of us on the Zoom call. Okay, here's another one I don't know much about, so feel free to skip, but maybe you know something. What is the deal with overseas? Why so quiet about it? What does this mean for KMPH, this agreement?
Oh, yeah, maybe they're referring to a deal that Corium did with a partner in China.
Oh, okay.
We don't get to say what anything that they do, they have first say, and whether they want it press released or not, and how they want it press released. And they thought it's just more appropriate for them and the partner to do so. If you go back through the agreement, you can find what the economics are. We get about 10% of the upfront. So there's a benefit there for the company, and of course, it's more validation, right? This is a big product, big opportunity. If I was Corium, I'd be looking at the Canadian market. I'd be looking at Europe, thinking about Latin America, Central America, Mexico as kind of my next areas. But Japan is obvious choices. The Southern Pacific region. So this is just great affirmation to any of those potential partners that, hey, look, somebody's interested and they're willing to pay money for it and develop it and get it approved and market it.
Okay, yeah, maybe have someone from Corium try to reach out. We have Latinos in clinical research, and we're trying to expand our footprint with investigators into Latin America, particularly Mexico. We have a few doctors from Mexico City that are starting to do research a little bit with our guidance.
And Colombia.
And Colombia, there, yeah, Monica. Shout out to Colombia. What's the probability of getting fast track and breakthrough status, and when should? I think you answered that kind of, no? For
1077, KP 1077?
Yeah.
I think I mentioned it on the call that we did in the presentation. It's always a possibility. Now, obviously, this is a rare disease and a product that treats a rare disease. But I've seen sometimes where the FDA will argue with you and they want more, kind of information, and eventually you get it as far as an orphan disease. Now, fast track, That's a little different, and that's more up to the FDA itself, is whether or not they'll grant that. I think it makes sense, right? You have, okay, there's no other treatment here that can treat the main symptoms of IH, and so that should be something. Now it's like a 90-day clock. You can't file it until you file your IND. So all of that has a very regimented regulatory timeline. Breakthrough comes after you have clinical data, and you can request it once you have, showing in that patient population that it works. And it has to be a serious life-threatening disease, and usually something very politically charged. So we'll see. We'll ask. We always do. Sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no, or sometimes, most of the time they say we'll come back with more data and we'll consider it again.
Okay. Any additional analysts or institutional investors either picking up coverage or getting interested in the stock that you've been seeing or hearing about?
I think it's been pretty quiet. We meet with folks all the time, and I think that's kind of part of how you build the story, and something that we've done. The transformation we went through last year was critical. Nobody would have covered us. I think only H.C. Wainwright was the only group that did at that point, Warren Livnett. And eventually we got through that. We added the Roth analyst, and then right now I think the biggest problem is analysts say, well, we love your company, but we sell to institutions and they're not buying. So they can cover you and do various things at that point, but they're kind of waiting for the market to clear too. That's what my belief is. I also know there is a huge labor shortage in that space. So if anybody wants to become a writing analyst for one of these investment banks, go for it.
There you guys go. You guys, there's a lot of career seekers on this channel as well. Look, you heard it from Travis Mickle. And by the way, he's very accessible on LinkedIn too. Do people reach out to you on LinkedIn a lot, or is it quiet over
No,
there?
they do. Yeah, I get a lot of messages daily. I mean, over 4,500 contacts, professional and otherwise. So I think it's a great platform. And yeah, if you have a message, I don't get to it right away, but when I do, happy to answer questions if I can.
That's awesome. Another person, I'm curious to get Travis' views on how he sees Pasco's role relative to his own. Is Pasco primarily focused on securing a transformative event? And how has your day-to-day focus changed since Pasco came on as EC? So he's the lead independent director, right, of the company?
Yeah, back in November, he kind of transitioned internally to executive chairman. So that, I think that's what they're asking about. Part of his mission is to do just what the question said, a transformative transaction. Now, I think our focus has been, can we bring in new assets to the company that we can develop and get more clinical data quicker, get to a potential approval, and see an upside that's different, right? If you work in, say, dementia, where you have nothing really to treat that, is that more valuable than ADHD? Well, right now it is. I mean, there's just no treatment. It's a big market. So, that was just an example. Please don't everybody assume that we're working in dementia or looking for companies in dementia. It's just one thing that I picked out of my head. But he's helping with that. I think a role typically of an executive chairman is to help facilitate the communication between the board and management, and just to make sure that the board's fully up to speed so you can do something quickly, as opposed to like, I'll have to literally stop everything I'm doing, focus on a board meeting, board update, could take a week or more. It's like, well, it's very unproductive. And I know Rich has been a valued member of board from the beginning. I recruited him. We decided to make him lead independent, and then now this transition. So we're excited to have a helping hand and to move things along a lot quicker than we have in the past.
All right. Wow, Travis, you've been super good. You haven't dodged any question except the Lambo one. When another guy asked when he could buy a condo. When do you think it's safe for him to buy a condo?
Oh, I mean, with real estate today, don't.
Unless it's Florida, maybe in Florida. Chris and I are thinking of an investment in Florida. Okay, let's see what else. Mentioned, oh, significantly increased staffing. We discussed that. Narcolepsy and IH. Okay, I think we got to most of them. Up, how are reps, sales reps, and physicians? I know we interviewed a psychiatrist on this show who loves Astaris, but have you been getting, like, what kind of feedback have you been getting from sales reps or providers in regards to this? Because I'll be honest with you, like I own a clinic here, and I talked to my provider. I'm in an underserved area, okay, Yuma, Arizona. But I showed them, like, I tell them, hey, you know, there's this new drug. We interview the CEO a lot on the show. It's called Astaris. So they had me pull it up on GoodRx, and they were like, wow, this is expensive. Like, this is an underserved community, but like, can you kind of comment on a little bit on this kind of sentiment, and also like combine that with the feedback you've been getting from reps and physicians?
Well, maybe I'll start with the pricing, right? I think when Corium, and this is, again, this is my own thoughts of what I would go through if I was pricing. I would look at the other brand products like Vyvanse and Concerta, you know, the brand name versions, not the generic versions. I would look at their sales and I would price in that range. And that's what I think Corium's done. And, you know, it's a better product. It should be the same as the other products in that space. Now, what has happened, and this is where I say about critical about payer coverage, is initially there's no payer coverage, right? You can have a copay card, which they do. They have a great copay program where you don't pay more than a certain amount if you don't have coverage. But at the same time, you know, that can be a real limitation when you can get something that maybe doesn't work well, maybe doesn't work really at all, but it's something that is much, much cheaper. And so with that payer coverage comes, you know, the needs. And you talk about underserved. I mean, 30% of ADHD market is Medicaid, and states don't add things on their Medicaid on a regular basis, right? They don't have to, so they don't. So we had some big wins in Texas and Indiana, and you just got to go by their schedule. It's a calendar schedule, and you know, once you meet with them, it could take another 12 months for you to get added to Medicaid. Once that happens, though, you're in good shape. You should have the right coverage in place. And I think that's really important because it pairs with your first part of your question. The clinicians, the physicians, the patients that I have heard from in the sales force is there's no pushback. Everybody gets exactly what the message is, exactly what the benefits are, and say, obviously, if I have my choice and this works for my patients, I would much rather they be on that. You know, I can tell you personally that Astaris is just amazing. It's just completely different. I was on Vyvanse before. I've been on Concerta. I've been on basically anything that the payer had made me step through to get to Vyvanse, and they all suck. I mean, I've invented Vyvanse, right? I mean, it's a great product for amphetamine, but amphetamine's harsh. And Astaris is just, it works, and you don't have to think about it. It just works in the background, really. Starts quick, lasts all day, lasts day over day, no peaks, no bumps. Really, really amazing product. And my son recently switched as well, and I think he's doing much better during school, much better when you should really be focused throughout the day, and then no problem sleeping, no problems eating. It's great. It's really great.
That's cool. I see. When I interview you, I feel like you're having fun. You know, we interview a lot of CEOs, and not all of them give off that vibe. Maybe it's because you've done it before with New River, but like, maybe compare this you know, stint with KMPH. It's been a run, a massive run, with your previous, like with Vyvanse. So how would they compare?
You know, it's always harsh, right? The drug development is a very difficult space to be in, and inherent risks. We try to mitigate all that, but at the end of the day, like literally, you know, I've had to go on anxiety medicine over the last 5 years just because, you know, the FDA holds you in their hand and it's 100% their decision. You don't even get to say sometimes. So you rely on good science to do it. You know what I love is the team we have, a lot of supportive shareholders, as you say, great management team, all put together, and we love doing what we do. because not only will we make money and get to where we want to be personally, but you're doing it for good reasons, right? You're really helping improve everyone's day to day, and you hear CEOs say that all the time, but I know I do because I invented it, I developed it, I get to be a part of it, and it's like, well, you talk about what somebody else did. No, I did it.
Wow, what a good answer, Travis. You're a scientist. Have you ever had like media training?
No, folks have just told me you just speak from the heart. Just
So that
whatever
means
in
that
your
it's
head.
it's truly a passion, because look, we've interviewed, you guys know Monica and Chris, like they don't all sound like this. So maybe we can see why the community likes KMPH so much. Anything else, guys? Yeah, Monica, Chris,
I was
Travis?
gonna say that passion always brings a lot of attention, good attention. So no wonder why you have such a good group of followers and supporters.
Yeah,
Well,
I've
thank
got
you.
KMPH, full disclosure, and I don't look at the price. I have it in my retirement account. I put it in there from
Me
a
too.
year or two ago. It just sits there. I don't know what it does. Sometimes there's weeks I go without even looking at KMPH, but
Mhm.
good to know that Travis is behind it. And yeah, Chris, anything? Casey? Judy left.
Great information. Appreciate all the answers. Gotta say the beard looks really good. You should keep it too.
I've never had facial hair my entire life.
No, it looks good.
I really
I'm
want to look
jealous
like
you
Dan.
grow a full beard.
Yeah, I'm going after the Dan look, but I just don't have it. So
No, mine I had to trim it. Mine is like it was crazy for a while. All right, I think we're good, guys. I know Judy left, but she's interested in those sleep studies. So yeah, we'll talk. Maybe Corium, like how involved are you with them? Can you send sales reps to our underserved community, or is that not in your realm of what to do?
well, I can always ask.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and maybe not even sales reps, but just a call, right?
Okay.
From they do a lot of MSL reach out to the medical science liaisons. I mean, actual folks that have a degree in science background. So I think that's probably a better. If you had to tell me, nothing against sales reps.
Well, we
All of
love
them love
sandwiches and
brands.
coffee, but yeah, the MSLs are good. MSLs are good. The Astaris laced sandwiches, they're always great.
You can focus on writing more scripts.
All right, guys. We asked basically everything. Anything else, Travis, you want to say to the community? We're probably going to be like another month, 2 or 3 before we do another one. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we certainly are happy to do these as often as we can. I mean, it made sense to wait, right?
Yeah.
Because we just announced our strategy rollout, gave a lot of folks questions to ask. But it is a great opportunity. I mean, look at the prices. What else are you going to put it in? Is always my question. It's like, well, if you're interested in growth in biotech and pharma, there's not a lot of good companies. A lot of them went out too early in IPOs. So I'm not big on pumping a stock. It's just the company's great. We have cash. We're not going to need to raise cash. We can do what we need to do and execute on our plan. I mean, obviously that's going to bring value. And then Astaris is kind of the gravy, right? If you believe it's going to do well, we're going to see a substantial part of that revenue. So it's a good time to be excited, pay attention either back to it or tell a friend.
Wow. Got to stop interviewing you CEOs, get me to buy a stock every time we do an interview, but
That's right.
thank you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you everybody for watching. Keep your questions coming. This is my other channel, the Clinical Research Circle. We would love your support. We need more subscribers, and I'll put a highlight reel on my channel to drive more awareness to this full interview. So thank you all. Appreciate it. Catch you all later. Bye-bye.